Alright lads, we have the Grail live event coming in a few days, so you know what that means. That means I gotta get you guys prepared by telling you everything you need to know about this event so that you're not caught lacking when it drops. And this event has a lot of stuff going on in it. I think they were a little, I want to say ambitious with the event, but then again, that's ambitious for like FGO standards. For some people, it's just gonna feel like a standard event with like some point ladders, but I think it brings a lot of really good stuff to the game, like costumes, servant buffs, all of this really cool stuff. And I just wish more events kind of followed in this structure, because it's like you get a free to play, a good CE, you get good command codes, we're getting servant buffs, costumes. It's just a very fun time to be playing the game. And this is actually one of the few events that I played on JP that I'm really excited that I get to replay over here on Global. So we're going to talk about that and more in today's video. But before we begin, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel for that sweet daily FGO content where your boy is trying to make sure that you are aware of all the goings on both the NA and JP version of the game. Also, if you want to see me play FGO or other things live, I do that every weekday starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you come peep that on the Twitch, which is in the description down below. But without further ado, let's start diving right into this guide. So first and foremost, I think more than other events, we need to talk about the servants you're going to be using during this event, because there is a triple point ladder. And if you are a newer player, I gotta tell you, you gotta respect the point ladder, right? They are absolutely massive, chocked full of rewards, but they're not something that you really want to find yourself on like the last 2 days having to complete. You don't want to be like 1.5 million points behind and miss out on all those good lores and the meteor foes and all the good stuff they get at the very end, right? So you want to try to fill your party with some of the people that are on this list. Now, I understand your front line is probably going to be like your double Castoria plus your farmer, but if you can at least take the like mental note of throwing one of these people in the back line, it'll definitely make your life a lot easier. I mean, everybody's got mash, and you probably have these servants that you can just chuck in the back, and those people will just help you get a lot more points as the event goes on. And you know, I know that like 20 to 10% extra does not like sound like a whole lot, but considering how many times you're going to be farming these free quests and how much you're going to be playing the event, it'll definitely make a difference by the very end. Now, the only thing that I'm a little salty about when I look at this is a lot of these people are costume servants, but they have the audacity to throw in people like Gawain, Tristan, and Lancelot over here when they still have not given us their summer costumes, bro. Come on. They're throwing them in here with like a lot of the other guys that are getting costumes or have costumes, but come on, man. I know they exist. I literally saw them during the summer event. Give me the Knights of the Round Table with their costumes, all right? But anyway, so that's just the event servants, right? Moving forward, we have the actual gimmick for the event. And so basically, Grail Live is based on you being an idol. Now, if you don't know what an idol is, basically just treat them as like Japanese bands. Like you just treat it like that if you really need to water it down. Because as you may or may not know, the singer of a band typically stands in the middle, right? So in that kind of style of mimicking being an idol or being in a band, quote unquote, they want you to put your main person in the middle slot to get their buffs. Now, funny enough, this actually may or may not change how a lot of people play the game moving forward, because you have people like myself that have always thought that they put their main DPS in the middle and their supports on the side. Well, I really noticed that I was already doing that when I was playing this event, right? It made me more, I guess, aware of the fact of like, oh, I should really make sure that my DPS is always in the middle. But then again, I think it's funny because a lot of people that also just do like, say their main DPS in this first slot and then the supports in slots 2 and 3, and then they'll be thrown for a little bit of a loop at the very beginning. So make sure you're not one of those people that's being confused, being like, why is my Castoria so strong right now? Like, why are they so OP? It's like, no, make sure your DPS is sitting in the middle. And I guess if you want to hear like a nice little background sound whenever you're farming or whatever, you can use the Idol Altar or one of the new people that are getting their Spiritron dresses. That is like the 10 new people that are all getting their costumes. You could use them in slot 2 over here, and you'll be able to hear that. All right, so moving on. We've talked about who you're going to be using to farm, and then kind of the weird mechanic of doing the farming, right, during some of the free quests. Let's actually talk about some of these free quests. Now, most of them aren't too bad until you get to the last 3. Now, this one, the like absolute final one, I don't consider that bad because I just have memories of using a Chen Gong to absolutely obliterate this. Yeah, that's pretty much my recommendation. Anytime there's like a weird node, I'm like, if you don't have the specific like 5-star or 4-star servant to make it work, you can probably get by just using the Gongster, right? Like, because even for this node being like the last one, this is like perfect for someone like him because you'll get good refund on the first node here because you're fighting 3 people. The second one, you'll get good enough refund that after he cycles out the next support caster, you'll have enough to just absolutely obliterate this guy. And 200k, that is peanuts for someone like the Gongster to absolutely take out. So this one, I don't think is all that bad. You could literally just use Chen Gong if you don't have anybody else and just cycle through the buffers that you should have. Then we kind of look at these other two. This one could be a little bit annoying because it's berserkers, and so if you're going to try to use like the brute force method of just trying to push through with hard looping, it's not going to work out that well for something like this. You might also want to resort to the Gongster on this one, or you could use some like weird setup of like, in my head I would think it'd be something like maybe like Saber Artoria could clear that because she has a pretty easy time of looping back to her NP, and then just having some big person take out this. Like for me, it might be someone like Sanzo. You know, someone that can just charge a lot of their NP, can do a lot of damage, especially because my Sanzo's NP3. I think it'd be a lot easier for me to clear. So that's just kind of like my thought process of clearing these things out. But you can obviously supplement your other servants, like, okay, maybe you don't have Artoria, maybe you don't have Sanzo, but you could fill in the gap with someone else that does the same thing. Same thing for this one. This one might be a little bit more forgiving because they're casters. You get a lot of refund back from these ones. I imagine, and don't quote me on this, but I imagine you could easily do it. Like just have somebody smack this person, and with like a plug suit or something along those lines, you could probably have one of your loopers nearly complete this, and then plus like their own battery or like plugging into, say, another support. They should be able to farm this as well. Shouldn't be that hard. This for me looks like, oh, yeah, this would be really ideal for someone like Berserker Ibuki, right? Because she could probably get like above 50% back from doing this with even double Castoria, and then could just clap up this last node. But we'll have to make do with, I don't know, Space Ishtar or something in the meantime, right? You just use her instead. Those are just some ideas. They do look a little bit annoying, but when you start like breaking down and looking at like how the nodes are actually structured and what your options are, like they shouldn't be all that annoying to do. It shouldn't be that hard for you to figure them out. But then moving forward, let's start talking about some of the stuff you can actually get from farming, because what good is farming if we're not getting any good rewards? So starting off with the command codes, first we have the MHX command code. This one I think is just great to slap onto any of your archers, right? Any of your berserkers that you bring to, say, a saber battle. This could be very good for, because it's just a flat 20% special damage mod against those sabers. So, you know, I might slap it on like my Gilgamesh or something and let him cook these sabers even more than he's already doing. The second one over here, the Nero one, I actually used to not really respect these type of command codes when they give you status, but ever since I've been pairing it more with my Yang on JP, I have a lot more respect for these, because not only could you put it on your own Yang's command cards to even more consistently have burn on people, because if you don't know, Yang gets a special damage mod against burn people, so she really wants them to have that debuff, but you could also slap this on your supports, and so your supports also function as a way to facilitate that damage mod, because they can also burn people with their own command cards. Plus, it has the bonus of, you know, giving a little bit of star weight to that card. So let's say you really want Yang's arts cards to have this, so they can more easily get crits on them, you know, refund your NP a little bit easier, blah, 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 all that good stuff. You could find usages for it though. Same thing for like, if someone has like poison or curse, you know, you could pair them with someone like, say Robin Hood, like he's a very basic example of something you could pair with poison, right? Or curse. I believe Chiome is getting her damage mod against curse sometime in the future, and so that'll also make her a little bit better if you want to pair those with them. Like, it's just about being a little bit creative. You can definitely make use of this one. This is the one that I don't really think is going to have all that much of a use, because removing one enemy's critical attack chance buff is like, yeah, it's like nice, it's kind of there, it exists, and the whole 1 star you're getting, like, yeah, it's kind of like, just, I don't know, you toss it on there just to have it, and then whenever it does actually proc, you're like, oh yeah, that's my quick card that was, you know, removing the critical attack chance buff there. It's like, yeah, it's whatever. I don't really think you're going to get that much usage out of it, but these two I really do like. I also really like the free-to-play CE that you get, because not only is it attack CE, right, because attack CEs are better than your HP CEs, because 2,000 attack is going to carry you a lot farther than 2,000 extra HP if you do decide to actually max this out, but it's also a free 50% starting gauge, which is going to be very, very good for newer players who do not have some of these stronger, more gacha CEs. It's also giving you 15% crit damage, which can be generally used in any team comp. comp. I mean, there's art servants that want to do crits, busters and quick. They all kind of generally want to do crits. And so it's just a very good general CE that also, if you don't have one of these CEs, one of the ones that just gives you a permanent like pierce evasion or like permanent pierce invincibility, I love when they give these out because it can be very useful for players who might be struggling with some of the more annoying bosses that are going to come out that have, say, like dodge or invincibility gimmicks where they're like, oh, well, I have like a 50% chance to dodge every attack this turn. And instead of even partaking in that annoying, type of gameplay where it's all like gambling inside your gambling game, you could just say, nah, I'm going to pierce all of your attacks. I'm just not even going to bother participating in this. So it's a very good like utility thing to just have in your account that if you're a newer player, this can be very, very nice. If you're an older player, you probably have something a bit better than this. But again, at the very least for us older players, it's still a cute CE, so we'll definitely take it. Speaking of free-to-play, though, let's talk about the free-to-play servant that we're actually going to be getting here. And MHX, Idol X, Alter, whatever you want to call her, Foreigner, MHX, whatever, she was so close to being good. I think was very, very primed to be like a very strong servant. I think they just missed out on like giving her like a battery or some NP gain, literally anything, because her natural NP gain is really strong and she could have been the one that fixed the quick farming, right? Because one of the problems with quick farming is that you need to really invest a lot into it. Like you need a high NP Dante's, you need a high NP Voyager, something like a high NP Lancelot even. Like you need to invest a lot in them, but she's a free to play. She's a free NP5 with high natural NP gain. She has decent hits at 4 over here. So like if they just gave her like a 30% battery and like 30% NP gain, she could have been really good because everything else she's doing is like fine, right? Like she's got the evil alignment buff, which is really, really nice. The mechanical one is interesting, I guess could come up in some cases, but then she's kind of got like the basics, right? Like she's got the quick buff and gets more on her NP, plus the attack buff, allowing her to double buff herself when she's not getting damage mod. She was so close to being the chosen one, right? So if they ever go back and they are starting to buff free-to-play servants, please just like slap on like a 30% battery and like 30% NP gain right here so I can actually use her to cook, because she's an adorable servant, right? Like she's really cute, but you're just really not going to use her all that often, right? And that's the unfortunate part. I can't say that you'll get no value out of her though, because if you're a newer player, she does have the double damage mods that may help you out in some corner cases, right? Especially this evil alignment one. This applies to more enemies than just the mechanical one up there. So you might find some corner cases, maybe she'll absolutely cook for you because you're getting stuck in some part of the story. And because she's a free NP5, she could do some good damage. But for most veteran players, not really gonna come up all that much. Finally, let's look at like the last thing you're gonna be going for in this event, and that is going to be the ladder points over here. Now, the first ladder, I think, is pretty decent with the Magatamas and the crystals, but the second one has pages, and boy, howdy, let me tell you what, your boy needs some pages. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one a bit more than some of the other ones because those casters keep stealing all my pages, and, I'm trying to upgrade their skills. You'll also get some of the just other generic good stuff like the CEs, the tickets, you'll be getting QP, the lores and everything, all that good generic stuff. I don't know how many people need these balls over here, but hey, if you need to farm them, you can get them balls from over there. So yeah, that's pretty much like all the free stuff you'll be getting. As you could tell, there's a lot to get. There's like a lot of stuff that they're putting into this event, but we're not quite done. We're not done yet. There's still the new servant that comes out, and that is Miss Crane. Now, Miss Crane over here, I think a lot of people are going to be intimidated on trying to use her because they hear that you have to use like big brain strategies. Do not worry. Miss Crane is very, very simple and easy to use. Once you've used her like once or twice, you get the hang of it. She's pretty easy to use. And then you just realize she's an absolutely nutty support type servant. I'll break her down a lot more in her own like separate video, but just know that if a guy like me can use Miss Crane and use her pretty effectively, then you can also use Miss Crane. All right, look, it's not that big brain. It's literally pop the battery, pop a whole bunch of buffs, and then have her just dip or whatever, right? Then she just leaves the field. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about the event that is going to be coming in the next couple of days. I'm personally very excited to just have any content coming into NA because I've been pretty bored with the hunting quests and with the rank up quests and everything. I'm like, give me some real content, and this is definitely some real content. I mean, you're getting like 10 billion different costumes. So much free stuff is coming our way. And the banners are actually really good, which probably doesn't mean a lot to some people, right? Even though like Miss Crane and MHX Alter are both coming back on rated, which I think is really good. Might not mean a lot to some people because well, Morgan and the Lost Boat 6 stuff is like right around the corner, but at least you know you got a little bit of time in between, so maybe it means something to some people. The banners are good, but just makes, I don't know, it's just a very awkward time for them to be coming out. But yeah, with all that being said, I'm gonna go to get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late guys.